to record to the cloud. Shalom, shalom. Okay, so we're going to begin here in just a moment. Let me kind of, that's nice. We're just gonna, this is our kind of intro meeting where we talk about some things that are pertaining to the group, pertaining to this new healthy lifestyle thing that we're trying to do. Okay, okay. Awesome. Connie, how's it up in Canada? Cold? There's Crystal. We've got Connie, we've got Cassandra, Kimberly, and Jamie, and Holly, and Khalil, and Mickey, and Kimberly, and Megan, and Mecca, and Tyler, Romaine, Nicole, Valencia, Trey, Faith, Angela. Hello, everyone. Hello. So feel free to come over to the main place on over here on Zoom. And so a little bit different tonight. We're not doing a Bible study tonight. We are going to be talking about healthy living, healthy lifestyle, because it's important to be healthy, isn't it? I like that Trey has the alpacas, the very furry alpacas. Hi, Sarah. Hello, we got Shalani. Hello, everyone. Hi, Francis. Hi, Zulema. Oh, thanks, Zulema. Hi, guys. So we're going to be talking about healthy habits, what we're going to be doing. I created the group tonight, haven't quite figured out all the details. I was just setting up the page. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin since it is, well, let's give it 2 minutes. I'm sorry. Let's give it 2 minutes. I just don't like how this is doing this on this little camera thing here. Come over to the main place on it. So again, we're going to be primarily on Zoom tonight, and this is going to be talking about healthy lifestyle habits. And so as a 49-year-old person who has owned a health food store, organic restaurant, non-GMO, completely non-GMO, restaurant, grocery store, bakery. I catered for daycares. I had a catering business within that business structure. I was on the radio once a week talking about healthy living and lifestyle. I'm pretty much what you would call a food Nazi, very clean in my eating. I will very, very into fitness. And Cass, what are you saying? What are you doing?
She's not lying when she says she's a food Nazi.
Yeah, I'm not lying. You don't want, most people are afraid when I come in their kitchen because they're like, oh my gosh, I think you're going to judge me. I'm like, I'm not judging, but I might tell you that it sucks. So, and like, yeah. Okay, so hello, hello. We're going to go ahead and begin. Feel free to join us on the Zoom. Perhaps somebody over here could put the Zoom information on there if you would like to be a part. It is recording over on the Zoom. So what I want to talk about tonight is the new little feature that I want to start doing, the God's Little Hummingbird Healthy Habits group. Now, I'm open to input, open to ideas. I do want to show you guys something, okay? So those of you on Zoom, you will see. If you're not on Zoom, you won't be able to see this. That's just the sad reality of this. But please listen along, and feel free to, I don't know, if somebody is on both Zoom and Facebook, you can perhaps ask me the questions and whatnot. But this was intended to be a Zoom meeting, and some people said they can't join. And so I'm going to go ahead and put it on Facebook Live, but it's primarily Zoom. So if you have questions only related to this, not a Bible study tonight, other than it's like how to take care of the temple. And so we're going to talk about that. Now, I want you here I'm going to share my screen over here. Okay. And I want to show you, oops, I got to start sharing. So we're going to come over here, and I want you, first of all, to look at a few things. And those of you on the screen, can you see these kosher symbols? Okay. So when we're talking about healthy eating and when we're talking about healthy habits, first of all, we need to understand, and those of you on the Zoom, please, I want you to interject right here. Why? Why is it important that we take care of our bodies? I mean, biblically, what do we read? What does Father tell us? And go ahead and just shout it out, somebody or a few.
Because our bodies are the temple. We house the Holy Spirit.
Right.
We're supposed to
We
be
are,
holy.
yeah, I mean, yes, we will have a physical third temple. We understand that, but we are the temple of Yah. Now, these symbols right here are some of the most prominent symbols that you'll see. If you see my little cursor here, this is the primary one you'll find. See the circle U? It's the Orthodox Union. This is another very common one. Well, the star K is very common. This cuff with a K in it, the CRC, the MK, these are all very, very common kosher symbols. So what does the common word of kosher mean? Not the biblical understanding of it. The common word of kosher simply means what the rabbinical Jews would say is biblically clean. There's a whole different, deeper level that we are needing to go to beyond the rabbinic Judaism. I have argued with this gentleman right here from the Orthodox Union because I owned the health food store. Of course, like I said, I was on the radio once a week. I had an entire restaurant, bakery, grocery store that was 100% non-GMO, mostly organic, all biblically clean. And so this gentleman and I, the one at the time who was the head of the Orthodox Union, we would argue with each other. I would argue with him and say, why are you kosher certifying foods with genetically modified organisms in them when you know that these items can be inserted with unclean, biblically unclean items? And so he said, well, we understand that GMOs can contain unclean animals and sources. However, because rabbinic Judaism, remember, they live by the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. And he said, we feel that since it was from an unclean source, but it's no longer that unclean animal, and the DNA has then been inserted into a different item, we feel it's no longer that original item that was unclean, so therefore we kosher certify it. And I said, that is poopycock. Like, that is poppycock. That is wrong. We can't do that to us. I said, that's not fair. Anyway, I argued with him and said, you should not kosher certify those items. And that's the premise I go off. The spirit of the law. I don't want any unclean GMO items inserted in our food. So when I talk about healthy eating and healthy lifestyles, these symbols right here help you to, at least for the very basics, make sure from the base level, there's no pork, shellfish, humans, poop, dogs, things that we wouldn't count food, right? That's what these symbols guarantee. These symbols, however, are not your ultimate safest guarantee. What these symbols try to certify and guarantee is that your food, if you buy it with this symbol, will not be cross-contaminated by shellfish, pork, humans, stuff like that. So I wanted you to see those symbols right away. And I got to stop sharing the screen. Okay, come back over here. So when we look at our food choices, that's our first line of defense in taking care of our temple is the food we ingest. Now, spiritually, we understand that applies to the Word of God, the biblical food that we ingest. We understand that we have to make sure that we eat properly spiritually and physically. Now, I want to point out here first, what is a GMO? Does anybody know what a GMO is? When I say GMO, because we looked at the base level of looking for our foods to have the kosher certification to make sure there's no biblically unclean items on there. What are GMOs? Okay, Faith has her hand up.
Genetically modified organism.
Exactly. Explain. Do you want to explain it?
So, like, if like the genetics were tampered with, if they were crossbred with anything, and that can be like seeds, and that can be animals as well.
Right.
And like they can crossbreed certain animals to make them, I guess, more disease resistant, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, and it's a bit so there's two different terms in the farming and the agricultural industry. We have selective breeding and we have crossbreeding, and then we have genetic modification. Mickey, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say sometimes that they make them that grain, that whatever, resistant to bugs or whatever. But that can also or like grain, they have genetically modified it to produce more, but then our bodies aren't able to digest it as well. So
Right.
there's, it just ruins the food.
Right. So let's look at what genetically modified organism means. So first of all, let's look at selective breeding. So the industry, the agricultural industry will try to lie to you and tell you that genetically modified organisms or foods that contain GMOs are just as safe as those foods that have been selectively bred for the best genetic features. That's not true. As a farmer who saves and grows open pollinated seeds, when I go through my fields each year and save the best seeds or the best crop, the best produce, the best item of each crop, I save those seeds and I select it for the characteristics for which I'm looking. So if I like the early ripening tomatoes that are always nice and fresh and they last a long time, I choose those seeds, those specimens of the fruit, and save the seeds. That is selective breeding. Over time, I'm selecting the genetic markers that I want in that food. That is completely natural, biblically okay. I'm not tampering with anything Yahweh created. I'm specifically choosing the corn, the tomato, the green bean plants that I like. The plant had good resistance to disease. The plant grew strong and sturdy. It would be like, so when I look at animals, humans, we don't do this, right? We're not looking, we're not doing this to humans. But when I look for my animals, I'm looking for a bull that throws a very small calf, that the calves hit the ground running. They have a small window of time. They are on the ground before they're up and standing, and they're up and nursing, and they're walking. They're healthy, okay? They're healthy. So when we are looking for those features, that is not genetic modification. That is selective breeding. We choose the best of the crops or the animals to produce those varieties throughout the duration of for eternity. Now, I want those characteristics to be in the plants I grow. That is selective breeding. When we do crossbreeding, we have F1 varieties. They're called hybrids. Hybrids are when you take two different species and you cross the genetics, not through gold gene insertion, or it can actually be done through a natural process. The problem with F1 varieties, which is what we call a hybrid, where we take two species that will naturally they will cross pollinate, so to speak, meaning they will produce a specimen, right? They will have a baby, so to speak, a baby plant, a baby animal. For example, a donkey and a horse produce a mule, right? So you don't get a donkey and you don't get a horse when you cross those two specimens. The same thing in plants. If I take different species of squash or tomatoes, if I take two cucurbita pepo plants and I take a zucchini squash and a spaghetti squash, those are two cucurbita pepo varieties. If I cross them together, they will never create a zucchini nor a spaghetti squash again, but they will replicate and produce a variant of the squash that is weird, like abnormal. And usually it begins in, so the F1 varieties, you can't save the seeds from those crops and plant them and expect the same seed to come forth. When I plant a yellow squash and I make sure there are only yellow squash by it and surrounding it so that when the animals and the little bees pollinate those plants, I will save the seed from the yellow squash, and the next year when I plant the seeds, I will get a yellow squash. Okay, that's open pollinated heirloom varieties. But when I take like a yellow squash and a spaghetti squash, both in the cucurbita pepo family, so they will cross pollinate, I then, when I save it, so if I have a yellow squash this year planted right beside a spaghetti squash, they're going to probably cross-pollinate. When I save the fruit and try to plant the seed the next year, I have a genetic degradation where I no longer usually will have either a yellow squash or a spaghetti squash, and I start to get really abnormal squash varieties. This is why God says in scripture, do not mix your seeds together in a field, because all of a sudden you not only create sometimes very sterile crops, sometimes you lose genetic variety as well. So we want to make sure we keep the yellow squash separated from the green squash, separated from the spaghetti squash. And this is where I'm going to advocate for you to get Susan Ashworth's book, Seed to Seed, because it will teach you which plants will cross-pollinate. So Susan Ashworth, Seed to Seed. There's a really good book that really does a good job talking about. So if you're gardening, I really encourage you to get that. Somebody has their volume, somebody's not muted. If you could just mute it. I'm not sure who it is, but I'm getting a reverb. Who is not muted? Please mute, please mute. Okay, so that's called, so first of all,
It's Bridget's mic is not muted.
Oh.
Bridget Marsh.
I think I got it. Yeah.
okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, so that's where, okay, so notice we went to, we talked about not genetically modified gene insertion yet, but that's the difference between selective breeding, crossbreeding, and now we're going to go to genetically modified organisms. However, remember, I want to point out the seed that is cross-pollinated, God says not to do. And the reason being, we're going to get mutant variations. We're going to get not pure variations. Now, Heaven, hold that for 1 second so I can continue the thought process and I'll get to you. Now, as we continue in our understanding of crops, then we get what the ag industry has labeled as, and the world has labeled as genetically modified organisms. Now, this was not possible in the time of the Bible. This is not selective breeding. This is not simply crossbreeding. This is forcibly intruding the DNA of one species with foreign DNA that would never ever possibly naturally inhabit or enter into the DNA sequence of the DNA of the primary fruit, produce, animal, whatever. Now, this is only done through usually through a gold gene insertion process, because it cannot happen in creation. It is unnatural. It is not probable. So this is, for example, we take bacteria that we find on a tree. We harvest that. We don't. The evil people harvest it. They put it on a gene gun, forcibly insert that DNA sequence into the DNA of, for example, a tomato. Okay. And then what they do is it's called an event, and it alters the DNA structure to then resist either different diseases, plants, pesticides, herbicides, or whatever. The primary use of genetically modified organisms was first to find a use for Agent Orange. They varied it up a little bit, and they had all of this Agent Orange. Now, what did Agent Orange do during during over there in Asia in the wars? It defoliated broadleaf trees. Okay, so it's a defoliator. So when you spray when they sprayed Agent Orange on the Congo, or on all of the forests over there, it would defoliate the trees so that they could find, I can't remember if it was the Korean War or the Vietnamese War, because I'm just not remembering that right now, which one it was. But when they would spray that on the trees, the leaves would fall off and they could find the enemy, because remember, they were fighting guerrilla warfare over there, and Americans were used to more civil warfare, and the guerrilla warfare style was very hard for them to find these people who were attacking them. And so what they did is they would spray this defoliant upon it, which they called Agent Orange, and it would defoliate the trees. They could find their enemies. Now, at the end of the war, all of a sudden these companies had this chemical, and they're like, what do we do with this? We don't have any use for this chemical. And so they played with it in the lab and did all these things, and they discovered a use for it. They first of all called it glyphosate. They renamed it. They restructured it just a bit, and they called it glyphosate. Some of you have said some very interesting pronunciations of that word. I hear it going around, but it's glyphosate. When glyphosate Okay, so the very first use of glyphosate, the very first use of it was as an antibiotic. But the only two bacteria it fought against was lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. Now, where do we find those two bacteria? Those two healthy bacteria are found in our guts. You got it, Sanine, in our guts. So what they first classified glyphosate as was an antibiotic, but it only killed our gut flora. So they're like, well, this isn't really going to work. So then as the scientists digressed, I would say, they continued to manipulate it and work with it. What happened is they found that they could make certain broadleaf weeds die when it was applied. Thus, we find Roundup. Roundup contains glyphosate. Now, this is a long-term systemic fertilizer, herbicide, not like the old herbicides, which usually had a lifespan of 5 to 6 years. You could do crop rotation. I'm not saying those other herbicides were safe, but they were most definitely safer. All of a sudden, after 26, 35, 40 years of this glyphosate use, there's no breakdown in the soil. There is absolutely no breakdown in the soil. Whereas the old herbicides, there would be a noticeable decrease and actually elimination after 5 to 6 years in the soil. There would be no more of this chemical found in the soil. And they could do crop rotation. I still don't think that's okay. I don't feel we should use herbicides. But my point is there was something definitely dangerously new with the introduction of glyphosate on the scene. And so they started to tamper as God with the DNA of our food. And they decided to start creating crops that were called Roundup Ready or Roundup resistant. And what it was it's all evil. So they would create a plant, soybeans, canola, corn, certain variants like that. They would make the seed resistant. So the plant would be resistant to Roundup. And they found that, first of all, doing this through some bacteria they harvested from a tree. And they inserted this bacteria into the DNA structure of the plant, would spray the entire field. Once everything started rising up and sprouting in the field, you would have weeds and the crop. Then they would douse thousands and thousands of pounds of glyphosate on the field, magically kill the weeds, but the plant would continue to live. Now, what did we say glyphosate kills? What was it first classified as? An antibiotic and it only killed lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, your gut flora. Okay, so those of you who have gut flora problems, you're trying to drink probiotics, let me tell you, we're going to hit the root of that. We're going to get your glyphosate out so you stop killing your gut flora. Because when you don't eat the glyphosate, you don't have the problems. And this is why not only do we look for the kosher symbol or at least a vegan symbol, we also look for organic. Organic certifies that there are 0 genetically modified organisms in the food item. Now, is there still perhaps something get through? It's humans, and unless you grow your own, you may still have a problem here and there where cross-contamination occurs or whatever. But it is extremely important that you look for the organic symbol. Here's why. An organic food product has to contain at least 70% organic ingredients. So if you find something on the shelf and it says organic, of all of the ingredients in that item, at least 70% must be organic. 100% must be non-GMO. There can be 0 genetically modified organisms within your organically labeled food. There's also the little butterfly that many of you will see on food. I think I might have it on here. Yeah, the little butterfly, the non-GMO verified project butterfly. Can you even see that? I don't even know if it'll work in this light. Anyway, it has a little check mark with a butterfly, non-GMO verified. In fact, in 2015, when I opened my grocery store, it was one of the fastest growing industries in the world. There we go. Thanks, Cass. They got a better picture there. So when we're looking at the basics of health, where to start? We start looking for the kosher symbol, aligning and accompanied with that organic or non-GMO at the very minimum. I'm going to tell you something that might break your little hearts if you're only going non-GMO. If you are not going fully organic and you buy something like lentils or wheat, oftentimes those things are ripened using glyphosate. So in the northern climates, when they are trying to quickly ripen and harvest wheat, grain, lentils, garbanzo beans, anything of the sort, they will go through the entire field to stop the ripening process. I mean, to stop the growing process and to get it to start deaden and ripen the plant. They'll go kill the plant with glyphosate and then harvest it. Personally, I don't want glyphosate in my diet. This is why I push very heavily for organic. At the same point, these people and these companies don't care. This is why I worked in the restaurant industry for 14 years. I owned my own restaurant. I did care. People would come to my restaurant and they would have like anaphylactic reactions to other places, and they would come in my restaurant and they're like, I never have one here. I'm like, well, I am extremely careful. I tell you what the ingredients are, and if you tell me you're allergic, I'm going to tell you what's here. Like, we're all kosher, we're all biblically clean, and this but I would pray. This one lady would come in every time, she says, I'm deathly allergic to flour and to gluten, and I go into anaphylactic shock, but I've always been able to eat your gluten-free items from your bakery and not die. And I'm like, oh, please, please know that I have thousands of pounds of flour every week in my bakery. And she goes, nope, I can tell you're safe. I'm like, well, I am careful, but it's in the air. But I knew it was because, do you see where I always say things are spiritual, not biblical? You know why she never had a reaction? Because it was all clean. Everything was 100% clean. But every time I was praying, man, she got the spirit always going. Every time I saw her walk in, I'm like, Yahweh, you got to be a miracle. You got to do a miracle. Don't let her go into anaphylaxia. She goes in, please protect, please protect. And he did every single time. The point being, though, when you go to buy things off the shelf, if the Holy Spirit convicts you not to get something, even if it says organic, you better listen. Because you don't know what the company's doing behind your backs. And I know for a fact, most restaurants do not care. I know facilities don't care, even though they're standards. Once that inspector is gone, most people don't care. I cared deeply. I cared extremely deeply. But you know what? Most people don't. And I worked in the businesses and I know. So the more you can get the crops, the food sources grown at your home, raised at your home, done at your home, the better you're going to be. Also, the more plain you can find the item, the more raw you can find the item, like a blueberry, strawberry. If I can identify it when it came out of the ground that way, like if it was a zucchini before and it's still a zucchini when it comes to my house, that is going to be your safest option in the supermarket. At the same point, I heard a story recently of somebody who worked in a facility and they sprayed Raid right over all of the strawberries, the organic strawberries, because they had a fruit fly infestation. And so the closer you can get it to your back door, to your own home, the better. Now, Heaven, go ahead and insert here. I want to keep going. There's a lot to talk about the basics of health. This is kind of like overwhelming probably for some of you, but we need to talk like this is biblical nutrition. We don't stop at just the kosher sign. We try to go to the organic. Definitely, we're going to, keep going that way.
Yeah, I just have a question when you said like cross-pollination. I want to know how far away do I have to have each species so they
Right.
don't.
We're not going to talk about that tonight, but go to seed to seed. Susan Ashford's birth. Well, because we would talk about so it's like 125 feet or 145 feet between pepper plants, 45 feet between tomato plants, green beans self-pollinate. So my point is we'd go through like 15 hours just on that. At Susan Ashworth seed to seed. And if you have specific questions, definitely message me. But what you also can do is you can fool the pollinators and you can grow like tall crops in between them. You can you can do things, but I had a field, we had 19 acres irrigatable, 42 acres total at our farm. And so I had the space to divide and put these plants apart. Not everybody has that, but Heaven, if you have specific questions, that's a great question. We're not going to get into those specifics tonight, but it's fantastic. And Susan Ashworth's that Seed to Seed book, you can probably get it from the library. Most libraries have it, or you can go online and just even type in how far should my seeds be apart from each other, how far. And like I said, I believe it's 45 feet for tomatoes. However, most tomatoes are self-pollinating, green beans are self-pollinating. And so if you put like a disruptor crop in between them, where between two different variants of tomatoes, you'll usually be pretty okay. Okay. Oh, somebody posted the book over in the chat. Now, let's quickly talk about farmer crop before I get to the other. We're going to do these other questions in just a second. As we're on this topic of genetically modified organisms, do you see, first of all, the danger in playing God? Not only are they're taking the Bible verse where it says not to cross pollinate even to the depths of hell, right? This is like a whole more dangerous issue than simply two plants crossing to create a variant mutant a mutant variant that doesn't replicate true to seed. They're now creating events that they can't replicate or control. And they even insert terminator genes in some of these crops, where if that terminator gene gets into your seed variant, your seed that you're growing, that seed will never produce again. It kills the seed. And so this is why did you know Bill Gates has up at the North Pole and in the Arctic, he has storehouses of open pollinated non-GMO seeds. There's a reason, because I firmly believe the reason they have created these terminator genes is because they are planning on wiping out our food supply. Because if you put the terminator gene in any sequence of a structure of any plant that you grow, it will never be able to be saved for seed again. This is why we've been saving up seeds for 20 some years. You save open pollinated seeds. Here are some safe companies: rareseeds.com, rareseeds.com. Also, our friend Jessica has one in Canada. I don't know if she can go cross lines yet. Heaven might be able to post that in the comments for Jessica's site. Make sure it is open pollinated. Now, quickly, let's talk about pharma crops. Here's something really disgusting they've done in the genetically modified organism scene. What they have done, can you tell I'm passionate about this and I've studied this? This is my passion. Yahweh and then this. And so what they have done is created what we call pharma crop, and they have put into corn spermicides, and they harvest from corn spermicide. Wait a minute. When did genetically modified organisms come on the scene? Oh, about 1997, 1998. After 1997, you see the fertility rate drop dramatically. So fertility problems increased hugely after 1997. And is there any coincidence? I think not. I think not. Why? Because we began inserting pharma crops, spermicides, into the corn that was harvested from our fields. Now, corn can cross-pollinate up to 10 miles. 10 miles, kiddos. 10 miles. You grow organic open pollinated corn. You got a neighbor growing genetically modified corn. Don't do it. Don't eat it. Don't touch it. Do not touch it. If you have a neighbor growing corn that is not organic, and don't listen to anybody, they'll tell you it's not non-GMO, it's not GMO. If they got it from the seed factory and it's not open pollinated, non-GMO verified, organic, do not trust them. Do not buy the corn, because they can cross pollinate up to a 10-mile radius. You don't need corn anyway. It just makes cows fat. It just makes us fat. Look at your poo-poo in the stool when you go to the bathroom. It just goes out. You're going to see it you see it going in, you see it going out. You can definitely live without corn. Now, corn is wonderful, and I love corn, but if you have neighbors by you, we were very blessed where we live. There's nobody growing corn. So I would grow fields of corn and harvest it. But guys, that's not very normal. Usually, especially if you're in the Midwest, if you're in the northern climates, there's going to be people growing huge fields of corn, and I guarantee you, it's not open pollinated. It's not safe. It's not safe. It's not safe. Connie, up in the northern regions in Canada, you guys are going to see rapeseed fields like crazy. Most of that canola is genetically modified. So here's your crops. Let's go back to just stay on the corn for a minute. What? This is probably overwhelming the dickens out of some of you. Okay, so when you go to the grocery store, 90 97 to 98% of our products on the grocery store shelves now, if they are a processed food in a package, contain corn. Over 90%. It's closer to 97 to 98%. You want to know some food items or some words that mean corn? Let me tell you. Ascorbic acid, maltodextrin, citric acid, corn, sugar solids. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. There's over 100 different products that are corn that don't say it's corn. So again, yes, look for the kosher symbol. We want to make sure there was no pork, shellfish, purposefully obvious, you know, we didn't fry some humans that day and throw it in the food. But organic is important. It is not a farce. Now, organic simply means old-fashioned. Are there companies that are big companies that are a farce and that are not truly playing fair? Positively. Like Horizon is one to be very careful of. It's owned by Monsanto. There are companies that you just pray about it. They're not in it for benevolence, they're in it for money. And they saw the money and they wanted to follow the money. And they don't play by the rules. Here's why. So for the USDA inspectors, for them to classify any food source as organic, there's a third party externally hired agency that comes in and certifies you. It's over $10,000 to get certified organic. If you are a third-party agency and this client is paying you $10,000+ to certify them, you might overlook some things when you get paid by this person. Not okay, but those of us who obey Torah would never do such a thing. But you see what I'm saying? There are times that that some of those bigger companies get away with things, and the inspector just happens to look this way while you're doing it and writes you the certificate of USDA organic. This is why I support and try to support small organic companies that truly are benevolent and aren't cutting corners, that are truly passionate about their cause. They didn't do it for the money. They did it because they cared about health. Okay, so do you understand what I'm talking about? Like the smaller companies. Now, here's the problem. Some of those smaller companies share facilities that process shellfish, pork, and whatnot on the same equipment. This is where you have to call the company. Don't call me. Don't text me. Is this safe? Call the stinking company. Because it can say a vegan product, but if it was processed on equipment or in an oven or in a facility where there's shellfish, like we had one here in Sheridan, my restaurant was completely kosher, biblically actually kosher. But there was a facility here in town where you could rent it and share the space. Some people made lobster bisques, some people made just biscuits. I'm not going to buy bread from anybody who makes bread. I'm not going to buy something from a kitchen that has this stuff in it because you know they're not careful. I'm completely type AAA. I wear gloves in my own home when I'm cooking. I know that's a little bit big R ridiculous. I know that, but I'm just over the top with cleanliness. Like my hands are washed. If I touch a milk jug, because right now we got rid of our milk house because we moved. If I touch a milk jug, I wash my hands before I touch anything. I open the box. I mean, I know I'm over the top on this, right? That's me. But you know other people aren't like that. So if they had bacon there, it's going to splatter. It's going to get on it. It's going to be in there. So these are things to be careful for when we talk about nutrition. So we want to stay away from GMOs. Here are your most popular and common genetically modified organism foods on the market, but they're often disguised. Again, corn is the number one. Please do me a favor, and after this, if you care about your temple and your family's temple, look up the different names for corn, how corn is hidden in food. Okay? Now, if it's organic, you're usually pretty good. I mean, but it still could be cross-pollinated. Just got to pray about it. Corn, soy, canola, apples, oranges, potatoes, zucchini, sometimes pineapple. What am I missing, kiddos? Help me out. I was just going off the top of my head here. Did I miss any of the big, oh, tomatoes used to be, and then they said they weren't, but they
Bell
still are.
peppers.
What, hun?
Bell peppers.
Mm-hmm. Any peppers, not just bell peppers, all peppers. Also, wheat. Now, here's where Mickey was bringing up something. Let's talk a little bit about this. Wheat has been hybridized for higher protein levels. There are some wheat varieties that have been found to be genetically modified, okay? So don't use wheat to just come, don't buy Walmart flour. Buy Wheat Montana flour, buy something that's organic. I have seen and visited the Wheat Montana factories up in Montana that are at Three Forks. They certify no chemicals. They're better than organic. And so Wheat Montana, if you can get it, is amazing. As your standard, you can get wheat from them. It's a little bit pricey, but I do like it. I actually used to grow their wheat in my field. I talked to the farmers firsthand. There's whatever. Just remember, if it's not organic, they often use glyphosate to ripen the wheat. What are you then doing? You're killing your gut flora, your lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. You're going to have gut issues, and you're going to think you're either dairy intolerant, gluten intolerant. You're going to be setting yourself up for failure. You're killing your stomach. Spiritually, we can apply this. How? Well, look what they're doing to the Word of God. They're manipulating it, twisting it, infusing it with Babylonian traditions, man's doctrines. They're spraying it with Satan's chemicals. You get what I'm saying. And they're being lazy about it. See, the whole thing with glyphosate was about money, but also about laziness. Farmers were enticed to, oh, I can just go through the field and spray this, rather than, my family were huge farmers. We had thousands and thousands of acres, and we hired migrant workers. They'd come up every year from Mexico, and they would work. We had labor houses for them. They would work in the fields all day long, hoeing the rows. But it was more cost effective and lazier for the lazy farmers to begin spraying applicants of horrible chemicals. Lazy. It did. Anyway. Now, Modern Soul has something to add real fast.
Yes. So the Dirty Dozen, if you guys want to look for the Dirty Dozen, that's what Melissa was naming off some of those. But my question was, for the kosher symbol, because of course I've been looking for it. Does the U consider, because are they all okay? Because when I Googled like kosher symbols, there's the U, there's the K, and there's different types of Ks. Is those all okay? Or is there a certain one that's like, ooh, stay away from that one? Or are they all okay?
No, there
If
is
they
one.
stay-
Give me a minute, because I just spilled my little Nixie, because I set it down, not thinking. Let me get a little, I have to clean up the spill. It's not sugar drink, thank God. But I need to clean it up, because I got sparkling water right here. Oh,
Oh, and the other thing too,
Okay,
so when my husband and I first started, when we started eating kosher, that natural flavoring, found that some natural flavoring actually has pork product in it.
right. Most of it is. So you have to look for the kosher symbol,
Symbol.
because so that's why you're looking for both organic. Organic guarantees it's non-GMO. If you can't find organic, at least look for the non-GMO writing on there. And the kosher symbol, or vegan. Vegans are vegans sometimes are more careful about not putting any animal products in it than kosher people. And so if you look over here again, let me get to the share screen. Let's go back to the screen here. So if you look right here, these kosher symbols right here are all fairly trustworthy. Again, the
Okay.
thing that is not okay is that they will kosher certify genetically modified organisms. When you see this letter, I'm going to point it. Can you see my hand, the cursor on here on the screen, guys?
Yes.
Whatever I just pushed on. Okay, if it doesn't have this D around it, if it's just this letter K, pretend this D wasn't around it, okay? That K. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm pushing. Anyway, that is not okay. They will physically kosher certify pork. So if you see, like if you get a box of Jell-O, they used to just have a K on there with no circle, no D, no nothing around it. Do not ever trust that agency. They will physically do it just to lie. They just lie. They put it on there to try to get sales, and they will physically kosher certify pork. So when you buy things like Jello, which you shouldn't, but let's say you pretend you did buy Jello, please don't. That gelatin comes from pork oftentimes. Let's look at a few other things, some hidden food sources with pork. Sugar. Sugar is purified using pork bone char. So if you have an item that's not labeled kosher and it contains sugar, there's a reason oftentimes it's not labeled kosher, because bone char, porcine bone char, which comes from pork, is used to whiten it up. Gelatin. If you see food items with gelatin, it's a big no-no. Oftentimes it's from pork. Vitamins, all your little supplement things, oftentimes the casing is from pork because it's a gelatin-based thing. If you see a B vitamin, B vitamins contain shellfish oftentimes. This is why when we're first taking care of the temple, we start with the very basics of go back to the simple food items, make sure it doesn't contain GMOs. Now, your zucchini, if it's organic, remember, if you're buying like organic zucchini, it's not supposed to, and it should not have any GMOs. If you're growing your own zucchini or doing these things, you're fine. But if you're going to a restaurant, I guarantee you're eating gross things. Ooh, back up. I forgot to finish the point. When you have GMOs in your food, not only do they sometimes contain spermicides, not only do they contain fungus, they often contain other unclean food items. And remember, I actually had a discussion and an argument with the head of the Orthodox Union, challenging him why he was kosher certifying it, and he agreed with me. He knew that unclean animals, the DNA of unclean animals, was inserted into otherwise clean items, which then became, he said clean, I say unclean. And here's my proof that it was unclean. Because in the year that they inserted unclean fish genes into a tomato, there were a number of deathly allergic reactions. And in fact, in England, the very year that they released genetically modified soybeans into the fields in England, there was like an 80% increase in allergic reactions to soy that year alone. People aren't allergic to soy. They're not allergic to gluten. They're allergic to glyphosate. They have no gut flora left. Now back, because I went to Marisol's question, back to Mickey's understanding, with wheat, we have such a high protein content now, mostly through hybridization, not genetically modified. It is not genetically modified in most cases. Is wheat on the market that has been genetically modified? Yes. But this is where the agricultural companies are trying to confuse you so that you think it's okay and that GMOs are the same as natural selection, selective breeding, and cross-pollination. It's not. It's a very different process. Through selective breeding and cross-pollination and hybridization, we have created in the modern years a wheat variant that is so full of gluten and protein that many people's stomachs can't eat it. However, the primary reason they can't eat the protein in the wheat, first of all, is spiritual. They don't have the biblical understanding of the Word of God. Therefore, their stomach is not digesting it properly. I worked with a number of people at my restaurant who no longer ever had gut flora issues, never had gluten intolerances again after getting to a biblical understanding of the Torah. See, I don't treat things physically alone because it's always spiritual. So once they started ingesting the Word of God properly, they no longer had a problem with gluten. Do you understand that? Because they weren't improperly digesting the Word of God. Who is the Word of God? Yeshua, the bread of God, the Word of God, the Torah. Do you see what I'm saying? And so every family that had a gluten intolerance, it was usually linked, it always was linked to something spiritual going on in their lives. But I had a lady literally cuss at me. She came in one day, she's a very brash lady. And at my bakery, I always made fermented bread. That's a big clue. My bread was always fermented. And she said, "Hey, where's that gluten-free bread that you always have up here for sale?" And I said, "Well, I have some in the back that's cooled, but it's not gluten-free, sweetie. You don't ever buy gluten-free bread." And she was like a truck driver, so she didn't cuss at me in a mean way. She's like, "Oh, blankety blank, blank, blank. Yes, I always get the gluten-free. I can't have gluten." I'm like, "You have not had gluten-free bread from my restaurant for years. Every time you buy this bread, it's not gluten-free." She said, "Well, it's the only bread that doesn't make me sick and I can eat it. And I've been eating this for years now and all the other bread makes me sick." I'm like, "Right, let me explain to you what's going on is that this bread is organic, no bad chemicals in it, and it's fermented." And so she was just pretty convinced that she had been buying gluten-free bread. I'm like, "Nope, you don't need gluten-free products. You need organic, healthy, GMO-free products." And I'm going to tell you the most yucky products on the market usually are gluten-free. They're deemed healthy and they're so unhealthy. They're carb overload. They shut down your insulin levels or like spike them through the roof. They shut down your processes to your body's process to like just function at a normal homeostasis. They literally shoot your glycemic index through the roof. They're filled with starches and compounds and all sorts of ingredients that are just not good. So gluten-free is not healthy. Please don't think it is healthy. Certain people, as they're getting to a proper digestion, your gut flora built up and you're eating the right foods, yes, you may think you have a gluten intolerance, but those gluten-free foods are absolutely terrible for your blood sugar and your diabetic load. It literally sends you into orbit, like your insulin levels. Okay, so gluten-free, we don't even want to think about that right now. If you are gluten-free, we're going to let's get to the spiritual application of that first and start going to the organic fermented grains. Now, GMOs. Do we all understand how dangerous GMOs are? This isn't Melly making something up. This isn't my interpretation. This is dangerous stuff. Like you are physically eating unclean items. They have even found evidence of human DNA in some of the GMOs that they've tested. Now, in fairness, let me go to the basic other side of the argument. In fairness, anytime a hair would fall off, if any skin flakes came off, they would find human DNA, okay? That's what their counter argument is. But we know there are over 1 million aborted babies a year. We know for a fact that their flesh is and their DNA is used. We know it's harvested. We have the doctors themselves say that they do this. They take it and put it in certain areas and they use the DNA. I'm just not going to do that. That's not going in my body. I am like Daniel, not defiling myself like that. That's gross, okay? So now we understand the difference between hybridization, F1 varieties, cross-pollination. That's the same thing. Selective breeding, and then the very dangerous genetically modified foods, which are doused with oftentimes glyphosate. They contain spermicides and unclean food items. It cannot happen in creation. Therefore, they create an event to make something completely unnatural happen. Very dangerous. They put terminator genes in some of those species. They're trying to make it so you can't grow your own food so that you're sick and you die. The pharmaceutical companies, did you know if the pharmaceutical companies like Bayer own the seed companies, just so you know. So you will have to buy your seeds from them. They have patented the seeds, which is ridiculous. God is the one who created the seeds, but they patent the seeds. Then they sell you the fertilizer, the herbicide, and the medicine. There is no such thing as cheap food. You will not outbeat or outsmart a bad diet. You cannot do it. Khalil.
So I got a question. So being in her, you know, it's not easy to how can I it's like not easy to be able to pick what I want to eat. They serve you, they serve good thing they don't sell pork or unclean meats or nothing, but
Right.
they still give like corn, still
Right.
carrots, they do apples, oranges, and
Now,
all
carrots
those
aren't
things.
genetically modified, and organic apples aren't, but just you got to be careful with your apples because a lot of them are.
Yeah, and also I'm able to get canteen. I can draw a list down when I have money on my books, and I can get certain stuff that like things like that as well. But mainly like fish or soups or chips and stuff like that. Nothing really I can get that's just too much healthy. But I wanna learn to eat healthier though. That's why I seen your post about healthy eating, and I really want to learn how to start eating healthier. It's kind of hard in here though. Like I'm gonna be praying to y'all about it. Like y'all,
Me too.
help me because it's
Right.
kind of hard in here.
Yes. And I'm sending some of you into cardiac arrest, I know, with all this. Because I've studied this stuff for 20 some years. I am a food Nazi. My house got cleaned out 25 years ago and I didn't go back. But I grew up so poor in a poor farming family, which was one of the best things that happened to me because we didn't get processed food. I remember one time I was in high school, I got a TV dinner for the first time because my dad went out of town and like it was to me, I was excited because we had never had a TV dinner before. And it's the most horrible thing now looking back, but we were so poor. So we raised our beef. I rode in the sugar beet tractor farms trucks and with my mom and my dad and my grandpa, and we harvested potatoes and we grew like we had a huge family farm garden and we canned our food and being poor had its benefits because I didn't have the option of processed foods a lot. That's a blessing looking back. But I want to point out, he mentioned something fish. A lot of you understand that salmon is also one of the very highly genetically modified foods. Do not eat salmon unless it is wild caught. Even in those instances, you may find the food is. Do you know how like there's fewer and fewer people, there's littler truth in the world compared to how many lies? Think about this. The lies are spreading more and more. So the genetically modified salmon are escaping from the nets and they are going out and breeding with the wild caught fish. And so it really is getting really crazy. The food supply, the more and more you can keep it, like I said, in your backyard is great. Now, here's one thing. Do not trust a local farmer. Don't trust a local farmer. Usually, when they give their cow, like just because you're drinking raw milk doesn't mean it's actually good raw milk. Many of your local farmers, see, I gave mine non-GMO, non-treated oats. That's my cows. When I milk them or my goats, I milk them. It's oats or alfalfa that's non-genetically modified. See, alfalfa is often genetically modified. So your farmer will often give the chickens Shipton's feed. Don't eat them. Don't eat those eggs. It is better to just go get organic eggs. If you're getting local eggs and they're not saying they're only feeding them organic non-GMO feed, don't touch it. It is more dangerous for you to ingest that because that protein, the proteins that is going in from that bad feed is going into the chicken egg and then you're eating or the chicken meat. Okay. If you're getting raw milk is not healthier if it's fed sweet feed. Sweet feed contains molasses that's genetically modified from the corn, sugar beets, because sugar beets are highly genetically modified. So don't trust your farmer. You know the information you're looking for before you go to your farmer. Don't feed sweet feed. If they feed sweet feed, if they feed corn, do you know the only way a cow gets E. coli is from corn? A cow will never have E. coli if it's grass fed and finished. Never. It is not possible. But if you give a cow corn, and those of you who are in the agricultural business and you were raised this way, it's a hot grain. It's a hot grain. It's too hot. Their body can't do it. And it creates E. coli. The only place they have ever found E. coli in cows are the cows who have been fed corn. So be very careful. Make sure your milk's organic. Make sure that if you do get raw milk or you're doing it, make sure your cows are fed organic, non-GMO grain, or it'd be preferable grass. Jerseys, this is why I do not like Jersey cows. They were selectively bred. I use heirloom cows. I do heirloom varieties of animals. Here's the reason. Jerseys, 9 gallons a day. Do you know how much feed that takes for a cow? That's like abuse in my mind. 5 to 9 gallons a day. It's so unnatural. We have pushed it. My dad grew up on a dairy farm, 42 cows he had to milk every day, twice a day, 42 cows, 42 cows every single day. So I'm very familiar with it. But they selectively bred them, and bred them to get these higher production. Now, if you have a Jersey that's an older style one that's not producing as much, and 5 gallons isn't as much, but that's still a lot. Mamas, you know, how much are you hungry? Those of you that had babies, think about your milk production, how many calories you need when you're producing milk for your babies, okay? Think about a cow now to do that. That's a lot. And so for me, I try to go to heirloom when I'm growing my seeds. It's heirloom seeds. When I look for cows, I do dual purpose cows, things with lower quantities so that I am not stressing their systems and having to feed them grain in a way to make up that calorie deficiency, you know, when they're milking, so to speak. Some people have jerseys, bless your hearts. I'm not gonna knock you for it. I just prefer, and for those of you who are thinking about this, I would encourage you to possibly consider some of the more old heritage breeds, like milking Devons, which I had some of those. Are fantastic milkers. British Whites are fantastic. I love the flavor of the British White milk. That's what I had. And those kind of varieties. You can do, and Normandies, like Normandies are fantastic. You don't have to put so much food or grain into them. Okay, Nikki.
Okay, so I grow my own garden and I've never thought about it until now. I'm surrounded nothing but farmers, and of course, all the stuff that they spray. Like whenever it's so bad, whenever they spray it, I have my children go inside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, does that mean all my crops being contaminated with it too?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if you're, so I'm in a no-fly zone. Well, I was. We just moved. Sorry. The you know how when they spray for mosquitoes down the creeks, and we lived always right. We always live on water. We won't buy land unless we have water. And I'm like, I ain't moving nowhere without water because I know what we need. And so we went to the county and said, you must turn off. We are no flies. We're a no spray zone. And so they would stop. You could see them stop their spray. They'd go over our field and then start again. Now, wind. I can't control wind. I don't know when those particulates are falling. You know, this is where we live in a fallen world and we have to ask for protection. We try the best we can. We submit to the county our petition to be non-spray zones. They have to honor that, at least here in Wyoming. We say, nope, I'm in no spray zone. You can't have any of this around me. Stuff like that. You want to really make sure you're pushing for that. That answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, I just got to be on the safe side. And then another thing is, like we buy cane white sugar and it's non-GMO vegan. Is it safe or?
Well, vegan. Okay, so what's vegan mean? Vegan means absolutely no animal products. So you should be safe. You can still call the company if you want to take one more farther step. Call the company and say, do you whiten your sugar with any bone char from a porcine product? Is there porcine? You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now, before we lose a lot of people, and we've been doing this an hour, I want to talk about a few things. So I wanted to kind of give an overview, first of all, the healthy eating, what we're going to be talking about. But before because some people are going to start going off to bed here, and I need to talk about this with you. I want to go over some basics tonight and give you these basics. I'm always here to help you. But I obviously owned a health food store, restaurant. I was hired to be a general manager for a gym. I'm extremely into fitness. Okay, this is my life. What I wanted to begin offering was a service that where I call God's Little Hummingbird Group Healthy Habits. It's a God's Little Hummingbird Healthy Habits group. And here's what I would offer for that group. And I want to see if anybody's interested in this. I was going to do it subscription based because it's not biblical based, and I feel it's right for me to charge on those things. I've had to not been able, I can't do as much with my photography with as much as I'm investing in so many other things. And I thought this may be a good little business for me to help me supplement my income with moving and not having my studio right now. So yes or no, would anybody be interested in this? It's like $10 a month. Here's what I would offer. I would write a monthly meal plan, Monday through Fridays, leave the weekends open. So it would be monthly meal plans. I would have daily exercises 5 days a week. I would provide a 7 to 8 minute high impact training guide where we hit different muscle groups. I'm extremely into fitness. So I would do low impact and give you a plan. Okay, so here's what your workout is this week. Here's what your menu is. Now, I could allow some flexibility in the menus, and you can use past menus. But I would provide recipes. I would do stress reduction exercises. Obviously, no weird new agey stuff, at all biblical based. Helping you to form sleep habits, energy habits, fitness journals, provide you fitness journals with goals and accountability, how to detox your home, just little articles and little like how to make your own laundry soap, how to make your own deodorant, how to emotional wellness, biblical based, and just have this like have a once a month group. That was my plan because I was like since we moved, it's been crazy since September since we moved. And I've been trying to think like, Lord, what can I do? Because of my photography business, I've had to shut down the studio because I don't have my studio built. And I'm like, and it's outside and nobody wants to stand out in minus 14-degree weather getting their photos. So my photography business doesn't pick up again until summer and we have bills to pay, right? So it's like, okay, Lord, help me. And so is that something anybody would be interested in? If not, it's okay. I'm just here. Please don't think you're going to hurt my feelings. Please. I've always told every single person in my life, it's okay to say no. Don't feel pressure. All I'm doing is saying, would this be something anybody would be willing to pay $10 a month for? Because I would do the monthly meal plans for you, include recipes, a number of recipes. You could always message me. It would be a private group where you'd have to pay to get into it. But I literally record videos. I will dress modest. I am not an immodest person. You won't have to worry about your husband walking in on any hoochie mama in no leotards, no girls hanging out, no apples hanging out, nothing. I mean, it's like, I'm not that kind of person. But I understand not wanting, there's no leotards. I don't wear leggings. That's disgusting. I can't believe people do that. You know what I'm saying? It would be very modest. So I'm just prefacing that, very biblical based. But just to walk you through, because some of you don't know what to do, I would walk you through progressive training. We'd have here's some exercises if you're a beginner, getting your steps up, because our ultimate goal is always to get your steps up to 20,000 steps a day, because that is where you actually maintain the healthiest weight. 10,000 is not enough. If you're below 10,000, you're definitely not moving enough. So we're going to get you shaking and a moving. We're going to have accountability. We're going to cut sugars. So when I did the CACFP guidelines for the 2 daycares for which I catered, I did 548 meals a day. 548 meals a day that I myself catered. It took me for all the 548 meals a day, one bag of sugar lasted me over 6 months because I try to use honey or organic maple syrup. I'm always looking for the lower glycemic options. Now, I'm still going to tell you honey, and you got to watch your honey and maple syrup. Don't you dare think you can just pour it on. You're still going to send yourself into an insulin spike. It's a healthier sugar, not healthy sugar. It is a healthier choice. Okay, honey actually is healthy. Honey actually opens your arteries. So juice recipes. So let me show you an example. So I want to show you an example. This is only the snacks. I have to get it up here because I'm not talented. So here's what I used to do. Let me try to share the screen now. We're going to go back here because I'm not talented. I'm trying to be talented, not really good at it. Okay, this is what I did. This is an example of what I did every month. And I did this. This is just the snack menu. I provide 2 snacks a day. Can you see the menu? Those of you on Facebook, I'm so sorry you can't see. Let me see if I can just put you guys. Can I do something without causing a problem? I want you to see this. So here's the thing. Do you see, this is the monthly snack menu. Okay, this is like what we do. If you can see that. So providing this information, and I would literally custom make one every month, and give you the menus, give you snack ideas. Can you see the ideas I have here? And I'll put this on the page anyway. Since I did this, I'll kind of put this up on there. Don't worry about this. I'll try to screenshot it and put it up on Facebook or whatever later. But I do this, and then I would provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a menu, ideas, and options. Now, you could feel free to mix and match choose around. But notice how here, look at, we're looking at cheese sticks, whole grain bread with jelly, cantaloupe or melons, raisins with cottage cheese, high protein tomato and cucumber that's a sandwich, broccoli and cauliflower and Greek yogurt, ranch. My point would be getting your protein high, balancing it with lots of fruits and veggies that have the full fiber on them, the full fruits, and also doing a healthy balance of carbs. Because if you don't have carbs, you actually can't produce the fuel. People who cut, okay, in the industry of if you're into the weight building industry, we'll talk about cutting. We want to cut, we're going to cut. We go high protein. So if there's a day I feel a little bit bloated, I'll cut so hard and I almost eat no carbs that day. But that's only one day. I'll do like just, 6 to 8 eggs that day. I'll do, cottage cheese, protein. My calorie intake is about 2,500 to 2,700 calories a day. I don't eat low calorie. I eat clean calories. And so my point being with this whole program would be to help you guys figure out how to eat healthy, get off your butt, get moving, take care of your temple, make sure you're clean eating. I would also do weekly, I was thinking about going to the grocery store for you guys and going through the like aisles. So in this membership program, if we did it, if you want to, I would go through and take my camera and go down through certain food items and give you like a rating, not just the ones that they pretend on the apps to do, the one where I actually say, this product right here is what I buy. And I could definitely do it through Azure Standard. Azure Standard is one of your safest companies. They are a messianic company. I have ordered from them and worked with them since 2007, and they have had their business in Washington for a long time. They are very dedicated to non-GMO. They make sure their facility is pork and shellfish free. They are extremely careful to try to carry only or kosher versus or vegan products at the minimum. Does that make sense? Azure Standard is amazing. They do a fantastic job, and they go to all 50 states now. And wait a minute. I don't know if they go to Hawaii. Maybe it's just all the lower 49, 48, 48. I did take geography and I was a teacher.
I love the idea, Melissa. I think yes, I'm in, especially just the snack portion. Like right now, I'm like pregnant and I used to love to cook and food and I was a big CrossFitter, so I was a big like paleo eater. So I understand the protein, but like right now it's like sometimes snacks and even for my girls, I think that's just kind of like just like people just sometimes we forget like, oh my gosh, what can I do? What can I have? So I love it. I think it's a great idea. And then I was gonna say to show exactly like what cottage cheese. Of course, when I go now, I'm like, okay, looking for the organic, non-GM, but it's like if there is a brand that it's like this is the one, yogurt. I like the Fahe one. I think that's a good brand. I don't know if you
I don't
because
like
I
it,
think they're
right.
okay.
I don't think it's organic. It's labeled, I think at one, yeah, I know which one you're talking about, right? And it's not labeled organic, is it?
It's not labeled organic, but it does have the kosher symbol on it.
Right. I don't use
Which is
that, and I
kosher
don't use,
dairy.
right. I don't
Yeah.
use it because it does have GMO feed in the dairy of so the cows are getting
Uh,
genetically modified feed. So this is where, yes, I would say no.
okay. See, and so like just little things like that, even just to be like, I use this product. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, it would be nice to like, and you're saying you don't have your cows now. So are you buying milk from the grocery store?
Right now, yes, I buy the organic, and you can get like
Yeah.
Organic Valley, and you can get organic. So organic, at least, is like I said, at least they're trying. There's an effort there, and there's an effort to protect you from genetically modified organisms, from GMO, everything out there. And Yavi always tells me, just trust me, Mel, because I hate drinking store organic milk. I just want, and I know that some companies and some facilities are not safe and they do just cheat and they lie. And as soon as the inspector's gone, they turn the other cheek. But you looking for a local farmer, there's a whole bunch of farmers here that sell raw milk, and I tell Cass, don't drink it, don't drink it, don't drink it. First of all, they process the food in their home. I physically, when I milk my cows, I go through a filter. I don't milk directly from the cow. I put a filter over it so that when I'm milking my cow, you're not going to have poop tea milk, because I'm sorry, how do we make tea? Tea is made by straining things in water, liquid, right? So if I'm a farmer, and I've milked a lot of cows in my life and goats, when you just milk without a filter, all that hair and there's little particles that fall into that milk. Gross. So you need somebody who's completely type food Naziist, type A, keep going with the A's for me, because I don't want poop tea milk. And so here's the problem when you go to a local farmer, if you're not doing it yourself, like you're not knowing, did they drop one of the hairs in and then that just steeped in that milk until they strained it? You can't, right? You can't get all of it out. And I wash the udders, everything's clean, but we live in Wyoming and it's muddy sometimes. And they're out there and little things drop and you're scrubbing and scrubbing, you can't get it. So you want to make sure the questions you ask your farmer are, make sure no GMO feed, no grain feed, no sweet, because they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're telling you. You can call a company and say, does it contain GMOs? And they're not going to even know what they're talking about. Because vinegar, for example, vinegar comes from genetically modified corn most often. Your alcohol is all genetically modified. Your beer is all genetically modified unless it's organic. I don't drink beer. I don't drink, but some of you do. It's not a sin to have an alcohol drink. It's not, but it's like, don't get drunk. So my point is, you don't even know the questions to ask. And that's what I really want to help you guys with, is like, oh my gosh, because I called French's mustard back in 2007. I said, is this made with genetically modified vinegar? Oh, no, not at all. And I'm like, the Lord said, no, no, no. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I said, no, I need to know what source is this from? Oh, I know it's not GMO. I said, I need to talk to your facility manager. Got the facility manager. He immediately said, if you're concerned with GMOs, please don't eat our mustard. I said, that's the answer I needed, because I knew that vinegar was genetically modified then. And he was telling me that was it. I just knew it. Again, if it's organic now, that's your one safeguard. So it's important to know the questions to ask. Like, ask the farmer, do you filter through a safe thing? Now, if they're using a electric milker, usually there's a cover on that the milk drains into. You're fine. It's covered. I hand milk. First of all, it's relaxing. I love talking to my girls. I love cuddling my cows, but I filter through, I'm filtering through it, and then I filter through a paper filter. So there's just so much to know and ask for. And if you're not the farmer and you haven't grown up in a farming community, you don't even know, or a family, you don't even know what to ask. You guys are just like starting, you're trying to eat kosher and you're like, what do I do? Sarah has a question.
When you are talking about them spraying crops, is that like when we see the airplane in the sky that leaves a streak, or are they like on the ground with a hand sprayer?
No, both. You will have tractors that have a lot of fertilizer applicants. So tractors on the back will have these big barrels and these spray applicants. And so they will go through the field just spraying just like this, a stream of spray. But you will also get crop dusting planes that will come in and spray. They'll go really low to the ground, spray and release their chemicals, and then go back up. Okay. So both of those methods are used to apply fertilize, not usually fertilizers. Fertilizer, yes, is the spray one on the tractor, on the big tractors, but from the air, it's usually the herbicide or the pesticide.
Okay, and then my second question is, would you suggest your new group for somebody who has intolerances and allergies to a lot of fruits and vegetables?
Well, yes, because you can always tailor it. The thing is, because you saw on that menu here, let's go back to the menu, if you can see it here. When you look at this menu, you can mix and match, you could do things around, especially because, for me, I tried to create the variety in a menu and I obviously have typos because I just did this really quickly earlier before I went and helped my daughter-in-law. But you can see that there's a lot of different options for mixing and matching. And that's the thing, because you can have the same snack twice. You don't have to have the same snack, you don't have to have a different snack every day. I just try to create variety so that, first of all, we're making sure you just start getting a variety in your diet. You're helping your children to, get their taste buds changed. And that is what some of you are going to have your biggest problem with, because you have hurt your children, or you are a junk food junkie and you're addicted to sugar, salt, and processed foods, and you're so formaldehyde right now, you might last forever, you would think. Like, you should just last eternally because you've got so much preserves in you, so many preserves in you, but Sadly, it works, or I mean, thank God, it works the other way. So we know that he's taking care of us. But you won't you can't outsmart a bad diet. It's going to catch up to you. So many of you are buying yucky products on the shelf that you think are healthy. So we're going to go through that. Like if in this group, I want to make videos where I show you, what are you doing buying this product? And then some of you get so confused. You're like, oh, it has 28 grams sugar, but you're like, it's like raisins. I'm like, right. But honey, that it's the full, it's not the same. There's no added sugars. Yes, still watch it, but there's a huge difference in added sugars versus natural sugars. So when I go and get a package of blueberries from Costco, organic, of course, when we eat a fruit with the whole, we're going to go through this on that, I think on the channel, or on that group. You want to make sure you're serving your children the whole product, a whole apple with the skin on, and make them learn. But you're going to have to fight the fight for your children, and you're going to have to say no. You don't give into temper tantrums. You don't give into these, because what you're doing, I believe, is child abuse. I have always said it's child abuse to just chew your kids up, process food them up, and then expect them to focus. I was a teacher. I taught first grade, second grade, and sixth grade. And I'm telling you, stop giving your kids red number 40, yellow, green food colorings, and then tell them to sit still. That's your fault, because then you come at me as a teacher. Now I'm not anymore. I got out of the system. Oh, let's just give them the medication because they have ADHD. No, they don't. No, they don't have ADHD. You just fed them crap and they have diabetes. Do you know like over 80% of America right now are overweight? God doesn't want us overweight. God talks poorly about that in the Bible. So this whole group is to get us healthy. First first spiritually. But we can't do our children an injustice and just give them the food they want. God doesn't let us have the sin we want just because we don't want to have we throw temper tantrums too, and God says, I don't care, girlie, that doesn't work with me. So this is where you as a parent have to commit to this. And here's the thing. I definitely am motivated by health. Definitely. If you're not, I can't light the fire under your butt. I'm your accountability partner, but that fire has to come within you, just like spirituality. When I fell in love with Yeshua, when I fell in love with God, you ain't getting me away from him. But it was my internal motivation. I could not save my son. I cannot save my husband. It had to come from them. So what I am is a guide on the side. I'm here to kick you in the butt. I can, motivate you, but it's got to come from within. So you have to decide, are you committed? So I'm going to say, if you join this program, you will have the tools to help you succeed. And you can always come to me, even if you don't join it. Don't feel like, oh, I didn't pay. You don't have to do that. It's just something I know that I can do to help my family right now. And it's not biblical based. I'll never charge for that. So you know what I'm saying? At the same point, if you need help, just say, hey, Mel, can I have a suggestion of this or this? Or I have a question about, is this product okay? That's fine. I'm not saying you can't do that. But this program, when you invest in something, you usually have a more likelihood to succeed, right? It has to cost you something. You have to invest in something. But I've thought about also doing like once a week or twice a week, where we do an online Zoom, an actual exercise class, an hour class together, where we go through the full stretching component. Cass, I saw the face. And maybe we do it live on the Facebook group. I don't know. I have to figure all those nuances out. But it would be nice because then I can create and record the entire routine. And it might be a little Richard Simmons looking like, but remember, it will be modest. But we could do the Richard Simmons and we could do that. No, I'm sorry. But I would take you through an entire routine of a 1 hour possible workout where I'm showing you different tricks and different tips. And like I said, I was hired to be the general manager of a fitness gym right before COVID. And then, of course, COVID shut that down. I owned my own restaurant, my own bakery, my own grocery store that was 100% non-GMO, all kosher, mostly organic. I cooked and catered for many daycares. I know a little bit about this. I was on the radio once a week. It's not something I don't know. I'm not just flying off the seat of my pants like, I don't know anything about nutrition. No, I have studied this since I was 18, very in-depthly. And so I do know it's something I would love to help people with. focusing on weight training. Some of you are at a plateau. Some of you have come to the biblical clean diet. Some of you lost almost 100 pounds this year. Praise, yeah. And then you're like, well, but now I hit a plateau. So I push you through that because it's going to be, sorry, Cass, it's going to be cutting out sugar. It's going to be looking at what we're doing. And it's not just sugar, it's looking at oatmeal. How come the oatmeal almost acts just the same as sugar in our body? It's getting you to understand what you're doing to your body, what foods you actually thought were healthy. Yogurt's not healthy unless it's non-sugared yogurt. It's not healthy to go get a granola. You know what I'm saying? You can think yogurt's healthy and you didn't look at the fact that it had 8 teaspoons of sugar in that serving. That's not healthy. And so some of you have been lied to and you thought low fat's healthy. I eat so much fat. It's just making sure it's butter and olive oil. Does that make sense? Okay, Tristan.
So I just want to say thank you for just doing this. Like y'all must have heard my heart. So currently I'm seeing a lady here. It's called Nutritious Thoughts where I'm at. So I've been talking to her on Zooms at 8 o'clock on Sundays. But I can't go with her anymore because she's like, well, science is saying fasting is not okay. You shouldn't fast.
Oh.
And I'm like, wait, crap. I can't listen to you anymore. You're not telling me what's correct. And
Right.
so I do want to sign up for that because so when we had the hurricane here, we lost all of our food. And I have not replaced any of our food because I'm trying to get clean foods, you know? So like we have like the smallest pantry known to man and I'm just trying to get it, but I get very overwhelmed because I want to get it and get it now and get it, everyone has their food and everything's nice and organized, but I'm so overwhelmed because some say they're organic and then like that organic milk, when you told me Horizons wasn't organic, I like about died. I'm like, oh my gosh, they say they're organic, but they're not organic. Crap. I don't know. Like, I don't know. So it's very, very overwhelming because I want to eat clean, have my family to eat clean, but I feel like I'm picking all the wrong items, And so I definitely want it because I mean, between throwing out clothes and throwing out food and 40 years of just eating the wrong things and all, it's overwhelming. So yes, I'm all
Right.
for it. Please. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. And I will say, okay, and to clarify, I know like I give people heart attacks like there's so much information. This is a broad overview. So you see, I wanted to help you understand tonight, like what we're going to be going into, the basic premises so you can start your own health journey. If you don't even want to, you don't have to join the group. I'm still going to talk to you. There's nothing in it. Please never feel pressure. I tell every single person with everything, it is okay to say no. When I come to your house and you hire me for something, I tell you exactly the service I offer. And I said, if I'm not your fit, praise God, let's still be friends. It's okay to say no, right? So when I do like my photography, don't feel any pressure. This is not that. I want to clarify with Horizon. Horizon is quote organic, but it's owned by Monsanto, and they have found some of the fields of which they harvest the grain that they feed their dairy cows has had genetically modified alfalfa grown before the next organic plants were grown. And so certain fields and the USDA inspector, remember I said they're third party inspected, the inspector that inspected it turned the blind eye and let that field slip by because they wanted the money from the certification agency process. So it's not that, you know what I'm saying? So there are little things like that to know. And we have to praise Yah that he's coming back soon. And we have to praise Yeshua that soon we will all be in Israel, neighbors, sisters, and brothers, living together with clean lands and clean water. And he's going to restore things. Praise Yah, praise Yah, praise Yah. I'm hoping, we got about 7 years left, maybe. I'm thinking, a lot of us are thinking there's about 7 years. We're about to enter that 7 years. Who knows? If we can make it for 7 years. But here's the thing. I do not do medicine. I do not do supplements. I'm extremely healthy. I'm 49 years old, not 1 inch of extra fat on me, very toned, very lean, very, very much, I think, able to share with you my journey. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like where we can help each other. I'm somebody who I understand I know cortisol levels. I've gone through menopause, TMI for some people. My point is I understand the processes and the different processes of life. I've had children. I have a grandson. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm here to help you like get the children's taste buds changed. I'm here to help you. Don't let your children manipulate you into the food that's actually dangerous for them. Say no. It is not love to give them something that spikes their insulin, that sends them to a blood sugar attack, that then hurts their liver, kidney, and starts shutting down their eyesight, hurting their, you know what I'm saying? Neuropathy in their feet and hands. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm here to help you with all that. Okay, so it sounds like if I can get it figured out, when I started the group, I just had to figure out the whole process. We're gonna get that. It's called God's Little Hummingbird, a Healthy Habits group. I did create it tonight. It will be a private group based on membership. I was gonna do $9.99 a month. My thought process is either allow you to do Venmo or Facebook Pay. Just do it every month because I don't see an option on there to set up the whole Apple Pay thing, but whatever, however you do that, we'll figure that out. And also, is there anything else that you guys would want to see on this? If I do this group, what are some other things, those of you who are considering joining it, who would want and what would you want to be included on that is in addition to what I've said? That I go through the video, I make videos in the grocery store and send you those little videos and show you products. Yes, clean, no, clean, no, not clean. Products to, clean products you can buy at the store. How to detox your home. I don't do, I'm not going to go off into new age, woke, weird, hippie stuff. I'm just going to keep it very biblical, very natural, very old fashioned because organic should just be old fashioned. I was also thinking like a support group, like where we get to talk to each other, keep each other accountable, where we get on like once a week, I'm sorry, we have a little meeting where we're keeping each other accountable. It's better to track inches and size of pants than it is to track weight. I don't really care what I weigh. I don't care what I weigh. I function on, okay, how am I feeling toned? Do I feel, how's everything fitting? That's where it's the healthiest to be, if that makes sense. So anyway,
I have a suggestion. You said you wanted to
yes.
ask you. I think leotard, tights, and aerobics fitness videos.
And sweatbands.
And sweatbands.
Okay, but I can't do leotard tights because that's immodest and I don't do immodest.
I
You can wear a
literally told
tutu skirt.
I literally told my mom last week that I was gonna start doing 80s aerobics workouts.
I sent Mickey a video and it cracked. Did I send it to you, Catherine?
No, you didn't.
Okay, it's hilarious. But I'll try to find it.
I found some and I was like, I should do this. Looks so fun.
Right.
My mom's like, you should get the little outfits. I was like, no, I don't think so. But the videos look fun.
Right, because I think there's chatinas and whatnot, but the headbands maybe.
But also to add, like dinners would be really nice, or like
Yes.
lunches.
You just came in, didn't you, girlfriend? Let me show you.
Probably so.
Let me show you.
I saw the snacks, but I didn't see the meals.
Oh, yes. And then I said, so that was an example of snacks. And then I would also have breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Okay, cool.
And then the reason the weekends were kind of flexible is because of this. We all need chocolate. Or I think we die.
Breakfast, lunch,
I
dinner.
agree.
So I'm teasing. I eat a lot of chocolate, but I eat dark chocolate. I eat a lot of chocolate, dark chocolate, low sugar. And so here's what I would do. There would be at least 5 exercise videos per week, 7 to 8 minute impact ones. I would also give you an exercise program where you would then, because I can't do in 7 to 8 minutes, I'm not going to show you your walk. You're going to be responsible for your own walking and your steps. I'm going to give you ideas how to do that. I'll tell you, time yourself. The other thing is you're going to have to track yourself. I'm going to give you accountability sheets and charts. I'm also going to give you ideas for like snowy, wintry days. For example, clean your house. Make sure, set a timer, clean your kitchen, clean for 30 minutes. If you're actively cleaning, do you know how many calories you just naturally burn? You know how much exercise you're getting. Folding your laundry, standing up and doing it, squatting. I give you all sorts of exercises like that. Mel said something about she used cow poop in water, I think. No, I didn't. What? What did I miss? Okay. Oh, I see what she said. I thought she was talking about drinking milk. No, she's talking about fertilizer. Somebody asked about fertilizer. So I take rain barrels and I shovel the cow poo off after I'm done milking. Cow poo, chicken poo, whatever from the chicken coop. I put it, a couple inches of nice poop in the rain barrel. And then I fill it with water. And then I just scoop it out with a little jug, and then I water my plants. Now, you don't want to get that on the produce, but when it's just at the plant stage, that's an amazing nitrogen fertilizer. And so we can talk about gardening tips and stuff on there as well, because I mean, my goodness, I've gardened my whole entire life, 20 some years with our own, and I was a farmer's market seller. I do things like straw bales with manure on top, soil on top of that, greenhouse, you know what I mean? We can talk about that stuff in there as well, because that could be in that group. Michael has a question. Oop, I can't hear you, Michael. Did you forget to join with your audio again? Okay, come back on. We'll see you in a minute. Okay, Marisol for now while he comes back on.
You know what? I actually, mom brain, I lost what I thought. I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
I think
Meant
it's
to put
just
my hand down.
it's human brain. You know how many
Yeah.
times I go to message one of you or think about I'm praying for you all, and then I get there and I get to my phone, I'm like, I have no idea what I was doing, but I had 43 messages, so I just start checking messages. I'm like, I know I was doing something, but I don't know what. Okay,
Oh,
Sarah.
Shatnez, if you can ask, and if we in that on that, if you can kind of maybe like some ideas of certain like, I'm having a hard time with maternity stuff and finding anything that's even Shatnez right now. Like bras and even like like for nursing shirts and stuff. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to have any of these things. I mean, a lot of it's like 95% cotton, and then there is the especially for the bras. And so I might just need to, I know it's hard. So anyways.
Handmade by Aaliyah on Facebook does a really good job. Handmade by
Oh,
Aaliyah.
okay, cool.
It's not it's called Cotton and Linen Items by Aaliyah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I remember really well sometimes. No, but I don't, but the thing is I can also, now this is a whole homesteader thing. Teaching you how to sew is another thing. The thing is, I'm so old. My family was so poor. I grew up on Sunday afternoons where we took out a loom and everybody hand stitched quilts. I mean, my family was my grandfather was a Mennonite. We were so old fashioned. Like we grew our food, we raised our food, we canned our food, we butchered our food. I mean, it was just, I took for granted what I was raised with. And then like if you want to know anything about anything, is my dad knows everything. Like they had the big farm and the ranch, and my mom's family had the big farm, and my dad's family had the dairy farm. It's just like I was really blessed. It was nice being old fashioned in Montana, backwards, poor, that family, because you learn the skills that we actually need that they said we didn't need anymore. Michael, did you come back on with sound? Oh, can't hear you. Okay, he's gonna try again. Sarah.
For a suggestion, I don't tell me if this is too far away from the main goal of the new group, but would you consider showing kitchen efficiency as far as the order of how to cook and meal prep?
The recipe, like how to cook the ideas.
Yeah, not necessarily like, showing us step by step the recipes, but because you have such experience in the restaurant industry, like how to be more efficient with the time in the kitchen, and like, oh, you have to take this stuff out in this order.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Like I'm not really well versed in the kitchen, if that makes sense. So like
absolutely
some type of like like how to be more efficient with meal prep so you can save your time during the week. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, if you're going to be efficient at anything, ask Catherine. I will get, I'll like ask Danielle. I'm a little bit like a taskmaster. You don't want to probably work for me, but you want me to work for you because I'm like thinking my brain has 15 compartments open at a time. And it's like, so when I'm running a restaurant, it was just like boom, boom. It was just like, okay, this is going on. Well, because I had 648 or 548 contracted meals a day, plus I had the breakfast, plus I had to be there at 2 a.m. Everything had to be out by blah, 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 time. I have everything down to the minute. I am so type A, you have no idea.
Yeah,
So
she
it's like,
comes to my house and I just sit down. I'm like, okay, Mel, you got it. You got it.
no, no, but it was funny the other day. We were doing a training and I was like, this is how you do it now. Boom, 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 boom. Like when I go into a house and it's just, yeah, my brain was designed to be an organizer thing. So that's a good thing for me to do. Because giving you those tips. Yeah. Like I said, you probably don't want to work for me. No, my employees loved me. Actually, they called me mom. We danced together. We had fun, but you were going to work. And my shifts, like even in college, when I was hired to be a manager, my shifts always finished a half hour to an hour earlier. The upper manager said, because I just had everything clockwork. It's like my brain just works like that. And they were like, how are your shifts, your kids? Because I had to manage 10 people, 10 employees at a time at that place and then my own restaurant. But this is how my brain works, which I can be very annoying if you work for me, if you don't like that. But if you're a good worker, you're going to get along just fine with me because I'll just be like, nope, nope, boom, 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 boom. But no, I used to make for my employees, even Sarah, what I would do is at the beginning of every shift and every week, I would give them exactly how much cups of everything they had to do, how many, like I would say, you need to dice 15 tomatoes, this, and I would tell them to put them in different containers for the week. And so I can definitely go through that and say, okay, here's the recipes for the week. Here's how many to make potatoes you need to have boil. Because what we would do is I would have the parboiled potatoes because then they don't go bad. But you have them for the recipes for the week. You have your rice cooked in the fridge because then you can pull your components together and make your recipes. And so you have your basic starches, your basic vegetables, and I do heavy on the vegetables. And I had everything prepared, chicken, beef, everything was prepared so that when I created the dishes, because I was making 8 hot dishes at a time, plus the 2 soups, plus the salad bar, plus the hot bar things. And so I would just pull them out, boom, 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 all the different ingredients, and then add the sauces. So that's a good thing for me to help you guys as mamas say, okay, boom, I need this ready. I'm going to prep on Sunday, or we're going to prep as a family on Monday. It's a good activity to do with the homeschool children because teaching them math, basic skills, cutting skills, cutlery, cooking, those things are, I mean, that's life. That is school. Use that for your school. You know what I mean? Okay. Awesome. Valencia.
Hey, so what about like also adding like children's ideas, like children's meals too? Especially when getting closer to unleavened feast of unleavened bread, because I'm kind of like, oh gosh, what am I gonna do with this 5-year-old?
So this is where you take charge, and those foods I just showed you on the snack, those were the foods I catered the daycares for, and those kids loved them. You have to train your children. Those are children's meals. Adult meals are children's meals. We do not treat our children like junk food junkies. And so here's Valencia. What I do is you are in charge. I help you to be in charge of changing your children's taste buds. Like though that snack list, look at this again. This was created for a daycare. Look at this. This was actually, this is a daycare menu. This is a daycare menu, 2 different daycares by CACFP guidelines where you have to have limited sugars. And kids loved this. They would beg their parents for it. But if you, okay, so think about this. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. And so if you teach your children that they are junkies and they can eat processed foods, terrible. Now, I'll also give you recipes and ideas how to make your homemade crackers, high protein crackers. You can take cottage cheese, blend it up, put it on a pan for 325 degrees for like 10 minutes. Boom, you get the amazing Parmesan or cottage cheese chips. How to make your own everything, even cheat meals like at dinners. I make homemade chicken nuggets all the time for my family, but they're homemade. It's the chickens that I raised and butchered. I'm going to give you real stick to your rib recipes as well, plus whole grain recipes, because here's the thing, white flour, regular flour, if it's not fermented, sometimes even if it is, you can literally send your body into insulin shock so easily if you're not really eating healthy. And so, Valencia, what my suggestion is, those foods, those things, they are anybody's meals. And so we have been trained that, oh, kids won't eat this. Oh, yes, they will. I saw 548 contracted, okay, so it was 250 kids a day eating that stuff with no qualms. But it's how they were trained and how they were conditioned. And so it does take a processing, or it does take some shifts in our mindset. It does take some help. I will give ideas because you can make your own Cheetos. I make my own Cheetos for my family. You take organic cornmeal and you do this little recipe. It's fun. You make little funnel cake things and then you coat it in your own. I make my own cheese sauce with dehydrated cheese. So there's all those sorts of things. And I'll probably rely heavily on Azure Standard to show you guys product, and I'll link the products in the description. Because if I can link you to the Azure Standard, you can get big blocks of Rumiano organic kosher cheese. So good. And you can dehydrate it. So yeah, we'll definitely go through the, and I'll definitely, Valencia, they are kid friendly. I'll make them kid friendly. And then we're going to have to work together to retrain your children's palates because they're addicted to sugar. They're addicted to processed foods. We're going to shift it a little bit. And are they maybe going to not like it at first? Yes. But what does it take? 21 days to form a habit, 6 weeks to really forcibly and ensure that habit. And so it does take time. You are going to have some leeway. We're going to cut out sugars though. I mean, that's a big one. GMOs, no GMOs. And we're going to cut out sugars, processed foods, and we're going to teach you how to do it yourself. And we're also going to get your kids involved. My poor son, he's thankful now. But when he was 6 years old, he was running 1 to 2 miles a day with me. He did not get the option to be a fat, lazy kid. There was no TV, none. We did not allow TV. There's no TV. And every once in a while, after Saturday Sabbath, there was a little bit of screen time. We didn't have TV. We didn't have the phones at that point. I'm old. It was a little bit of video games with, the racing one without the yucky girls on it. It could be like that. We did not sit. We did not sit. There was no sitting in our home. You could have your rest time. There was Bible sitting time. But when my husband got home, there was never TV in the home. It was a family game, or we went on a bike ride, or we went to the park. We did not, or we went fishing. We were a very active family. We were extremely active, and you're going to have to culture and create that culture within your family where it is not screen time. It is not lazy time. It is not sitting around. Here's the thing. I hate to say this, but I can, because I literally was a teacher with 24 kids. I know what it's like. Yes, you have 4, 5, 6 kids. I get it. I had 24 a day. I know how to handle them without TV or screen time. Right? And yes, I was a mother. It's lazy. I get it. We're tired. But when you send your child and you need a break, put them with a drawing pad. Put them with a book, the Bible. It's okay to let them go out in the dirt pile and dig in the dirt. They don't need to be medicated, placated, or sedated with the screen. It's an easy, free babysitter that is very dangerous. And I understand. I'm a grandma now. You choose, just like with your spiritual life, you're choosing the hard choice. It's hard. You're going to have hard either way. Choosing to walk with Yah is hard. Choosing not to walk with hard. You're going to have consequences for both, right? You're going to have to overcome your flesh, or you're going to have to overcome your sin. You're going to be trapped by sin and be judged. So it's hard to engage your children, or it's hard to let them become bumps on logs that then you have to deal with later because you made lazy bumps on logs here. Choose your hard. Choose your hard. Choose your hard. I chose my hard. I chose to say, nope, no junk food. We didn't eat out. Yep, I was a not fun parent. We didn't go to McDonald's, not even a fry. Nope, I made everything at home from scratch. And I'm not joking. Ask my son. He did not eat out ever. Not a compromise. Not ever. We didn't cheat. Just like I don't cheat in my spiritual life. There was not a compromise. And that's where we have to get to get you totally clean. See, spiritually, is going to be the same as I handle this group. I'm 100% in on whatever I do. I don't put one toe in with Satan. Not even my pinky is in with Satan. If I love ya, I'm all in. And that's what my goal is, to help you guys. Because the more you're dedicated to your physical life, the more you're committed to your physical life, you will also be more committed to your spiritual life. And some of you, I'm going to say that just look down at your own bodies. If you see some fluffiness, that means spiritually you're somewhere still fluffy. And God is still in the process of helping you. I can almost guarantee it. It's a process. It's a process. He's helping us. So we're not going to condemn anybody, but I am here to help you win. So we're not doing anything other than getting modest. I'm not going to say like bikini body ready, because we'll never wear a bikini. But we want to get Yeshua ready. We want to be beautiful for our Messiah, okay? And we want to take care of this body that he gave us. We want it to look exactly like he intended it to look. Let's put it that way. Okay? And you know, a lot of your skin issues, as soon as you stop eating the bad foods and stop using those chemicals, your skin's going to clear up. I mean, I'm 49 now, but I used to have like glowing, radiating skin, and everybody said, "Why is your skin so beautiful?" I didn't eat processed food. I drank tons of water, almost no sugar. Now, I'm 49. Now you're just old. You know, you lose that glow at some age, don't you, Connie? We just lose it. You just can't help. And then, I mean, we're in a process of decay. I get it. Anyway, yes, Ania.
Oh, I'm not sure. At one point I came in, but you may have already said it, but my question is, where are you at with like growing your own stuff? I know that I did hear you mention that you're no longer milking your own cows, but
Well,
are you still growing?
moved, yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're still growing, or?
Well, we moved to a new place. Yeah, we're going to. Right now, I'm not, but I can still go through all those gardening tips and tricks with you guys and help you. I used to teach gardening classes here in town and canning classes here in town, food preservation and stuff like that. Those are some things that are easy to do, but we do have the plans of putting in an underground greenhouse here, the geothermal greenhouse. Plus, I have a really nice spot up front. We're probably still going to be growing. I'm trying to, but either way, I can walk you through processes and steps. I mean, I've done it for 20 some years. You know, yes, Yahweh positioned us because we have a big move coming soon. And so but definitely I have no problem helping you, walking you through doing things. I probably have enough seeds stored up to last my family for 20 years because I save seeds and do all these things, but we only need to make it 7 or 3.5. But my point is, I don't mind helping you with that. But right now, currently, the way when we had to move, I just had to trust, and he moved us all to this little town. It's so funny, like almost the entire community here was moved to the small town just miraculously. Oh, look at Miss Kimberly Comstock. Is she snoring? Mickey, is she snoring? Tickler? No, she's just out.
She worked hard today.
Danielle was her taskmaster today. Okay. And yes, Ania, does that answer your question, hun?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. And so for you guys who are preparing for what's coming too, open pollinated seeds is good. Whole grains, organic whole grains like the wheat, berries. Plus, I'll show you recipes. I used to make at my restaurant all sorts of whole grain items. Wheat berry salads are amazing. If you make, I show people how to make just interesting different things, herbs to throw into, your different salads, couscous, tabbouleh. We can do tzatziki. I can show you how to make the most amazing hummus, but in Hebrew it's hummus. Oh my gosh. All those kind of things. But what we're going to be focusing on, I don't like the paleo diet. I don't like the carnivore diet, and I don't like what's the one? I'm so sorry. The one where they do the bacon all the time. Help me out. What's the name of it? I'm just forgetting the name of it.
Keto.
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 Keto, yeah.
So keeping your body in a state of ketosis is actually very dangerous. And 40% increase in heart attack rates for the people who go on the keto diet. And this is why they're feeding so much animal fat into their hearts. 40% increase in heart attacks in those diets. So we aren't going to do weird stuff like that. We're going to go biblical based. We are going to eat the bread, the word of God. We are going to eat whole grains. We are going to focus on that. There has to be a balanced approach. I eat probably more carbs. I eat a lot of carbs. A lot of carbs. I'm not even going to do the calorie trackers with you guys because you can do macros, you can start doing macros. But what I will focus on, I will primarily focus, if you looked at even the snack menu, on high protein items. Just to give you kind of this, and a lot of veggies, a lot of veggies. I saw the little cute kitty, Nikki's kids, adorable. Okay, so that sounds good. Sorry guys, we did our Zoom tonight. Some of you asked if I would do an open of the live, kind of been ignoring the live because it was just a Zoom tonight.
Oh,
So
I remember my question.
okay, good.
So because we, a lot of us probably been eating glyphosate. So by eating this way, will this help us eliminate the glyphosate in our body? Like,
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I wanted
Absolutely.
to know. Okay,
Yeah, because we're going to get you completely. I mean, I'm going to stress on you no GMOs. We're going to really try to alter that. As you eat naturally fermented foods, I can teach you how to ferment your own food. It's really easy to do. It's like a 0.02 percentage of salt to water volume when and I can show you how to weigh the vegetables and do all that because you can ferment any of your vegetables almost at all on your counter through a natural fermentation process, and you can put them in the fridge. Just getting the lactobacillus and bifidobacteria back into your stomach, eating naturally fermented sauerkrauts, and if you can't make your own, buying things like Bubbies or some of the more raw or some of those that you can find. Yes, culturing your food, eating the cultures, eating those items is really going to help you get your body healthy. Because if you get your gut flora all in sync, your skin's going to clear up. You're going to get, when you get the sugars out, your skin's going to clear up. Your body's going to, you're just going to start shedding the fat. Like some of you melted immediately when you came to Torah, you just started melting in front of our eyes. And then you get this plateau. It's because now we need that next level. Now it's not only 10,000 steps a day. Let's get you up to the 15 and 20,000 steps a day. Let's make sure we're incorporating weight training, light weights, just to get your muscle mass up there, and cutting out even deeper the refined foods. Now, everybody's body has a set point, and we should never attempt to be skinny with what we're doing. We want to be healthy. Okay. So the goal when we're doing this is to be healthy so that when we get to Jerusalem, you can walk to my house and I can walk to yours, right? Even if we're 70 miles apart. So we can see each other. That's the whole goal. My whole goal, that's a joke, but I actually would have that goal. Mostly what we're going to focus on, like I said, for the 7-minute to 8-minute workouts, we're going to do high impact 7 to 8 minutes. The reason being, you can do that workout a couple times in the day if you want, but 7 to 8 minutes really does a good job of kicking your metabolism up, getting your muscles engaged. But in addition to the 7 to 8 minutes high impact that we're going to be looking at, I'm going to expect you to walk 10 to 20,000 steps a day. Now, if you can only take a walk of 10,000 of those steps, that's 5 miles, approximately 5 miles. That's fine. Let's get the other steps in activities through your home. You will be more active than you've ever been in your life. If you have a desk job, we're gonna work on ways to get you a standing desk. They're pretty cheap at Home Depot. Make sure you're standing, maybe just walking, putting a little treadmill under your desk as you're doing it, or just every hour, set a timer, 5-10 minutes, do some jumping jacks. So my poor son, we would start our day, of course, with the Bible, and then we would do some work at school, and then we would every hour we would stop and do 5 to 10 minutes of exercises. Every hour we would stop and do jumping jacks and sing, put some worship music on. We were very active, and then we would always run 1 to 2 miles a day together. I had already done my 5 mile walk and run in the morning. I mean, and then we would do that together, and then we would ride bikes in the afternoon or go play pickleball with the old people at the YMCA. I encouraged and created and curated a very active lifestyle. And it's going to take a mind shift. So we're going to work on your mentality altogether as a family. Even if it's in the garden, that's fine. Heaven, stick out the kids in the garden. Like, right? Stick them out there. Go say, we're going to weed today for an hour. And Nikki's got the big, it's okay to make your kids work. How did we get our society where it is? Because work is what creates good functioning citizens. It's not child abuse. In fact, it's probably child abuse not to let them do work or chores, because they just did a study last week I saw where the kids who did chores were way more successful in life. Way higher success rates in life because they had to do chores and they were engaged in the family. Those of you, we didn't have an option. We didn't get paid to do chores. We had food and a roof over our head. Like, we had clothing. We didn't walk around naked because our parents worked hard and we were a part of the family. It wasn't abuse. It was a privilege and it was a blessing. And that's how, we'll function on all those things. And I think what we'll do is once a week, at least, doing these calls like this, where we deep dive into things where people can talk. So if that sounds good, what I'm going to do is I have the Godzilla Hummingbird group. What did I name it? Godzilla Hummingbird Healthy Habits group. I'll share it as soon as I get it ready. And then you will ask to join. And then what we'll do is set up how payment works for you best. And it'll be $9.99 a month. If it's easier for $10, I don't know. Whatever. Again, if you can't afford it, please don't feel guilty. You are not doing a disservice to me. This is just something this is not ministry. This is nothing. This is just a little job thing I'm going to do. But if you have health questions, you can always ask me, like, for free. Like, I'm not going to like say, you can't ask me, you can't ask for, don't feel guilty. I'm not like that. So don't think you can't come to me and like, oh my gosh, is this okay? Send me a picture. Should I even eat this? Don't worry about that. But the Godzilla Hummingbird group is a way just to get some more personal, in-depth recipes, teaching, accountability, charts. You're going to be journaling because we live in the most sedentary time ever. Do you know this is the first generation? So Gen Zers, after the millennials, yeah, was that Gen Z? So I'm Gen X, then we have millennials and then Gen Z, right? Do you know this? That's the first, according to the CDC, it's the first generation expected to have a shorter life expectancy than his parents because of their diet. Did you know that? The CDC projects that the Gen Zers are the first generation to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents in America's history because of the diet. Do you know the healthiest time in America was the 1915 to 1919 era? We were post a lot of problems, post colonization, basically. We had kind of settled down and we were farmers. And those people lived a very long time because they were eating organic, old-fashioned, natural, healthy. And when you work on a farm, if you just get your children a garden to take care of themselves, do you know how much activity? You don't even have to go on extra walks because you're doing your work. You're working in the garden. And make your garden as big as possible. If you're renting a place, ask your landlord if you can put in edible gardens. Ask your landlord if you can cultivate raised beds back there, whatever it is. When you're looking for your soil and your manure, make sure it has been organically fed. What's in that poop is what that animal ate. It's not okay to have genetically modified feed in the animal and then use genetically modified feed poop on your fertilizer, right? It's just, you got all sorts of, there's all sorts of things to think about. If you can't do a garden, that's okay. Especially those of you in California, you have such a wide variety of options. You are so blessed. Like, you have not been to Wyoming. Oh, you lived in Idaho though, Sanine, like up north, you don't understand like what we don't have up here. You just don't understand. You're very blessed because you do have a wide variety. What we'll also do is budget-friendly options, because some of you are on a budget and some of you are in homes that this isn't going to work real well because it's going to be really hard for you because your family won't eat this way. Well, you are the temple of Yah, and you take care of you. You can't force it on your family. If they say no, that's their choice. Just like if they want to do pagan miss or their things, you have to let that be their choice. But I mean, I can guarantee you can, like, you will do better if you start following the meal plans I make, even just following the meal plans I make for you. People used to come to my restaurant all the time. They would eat because I had membership program there. You didn't have to be a member to shop at my store, but you got 10% off all your meals if you did, and all your groceries. And so most people, like, we had a lot of members. There were single men and single women and families, but mostly single men and women ate there at my restaurant every single meal, and they lost so much weight. And so, because I didn't cook with processed foods, it was all made from scratch, all organic. And so, that's what I want you guys to be able to replicate at your home, all these home cooked things. And I'll show you how to make the meals. I'll give you recipes, I'll give you ideas. Because sometimes you're like, okay, you told me to make beef stroganoff. Whoa, hello. How do I make that? Right? So we'll go through ideas. There's also, I'll put on there vegetarian options, things like that. I don't do vegan. Vegan's not healthy. Vegan is healthy for a while. If you need to do a radical change, vegan can be really healthy. Vegetarian is extremely healthy. And don't buy into the lies of either side of the equation. The Bible says, be careful of a man that eats too much meat. So if there's a person eating all sorts of meat-based products, you know they're not following the Bible, and you know that that's not biblical. That's why I ascribe very highly to grains, organic whole grains, because Bible talks about it. I think I'm living proof. I mean, I really look healthy. I am healthy. So I'm saying, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, right? Like, I'm telling you, I live this way. I do this for a reason. Vegetarian is a very good, healthy diet. That is what our ancestors of Israel ate. They were primarily vegetarians with meat occasionally. Meat is extremely expensive. They did not slaughter a lot of animals. Vegetarian, not vegan. Vegan, it's really hard to keep your heart healthy. It's hard to keep your whole body healthy without animal protein. If you don't have eggs, if you don't have milk, you're really missing out. But your primary source of your meals should be vegetable, fruit, and grains, right? I mean, we know that should be a lot of our primary basis. That's what our ancestors did. They had nuts and grains and vegetables and fruits, whole foods. Now, they didn't eat meat very much. And if you are around people that eat a lot of meat, did you want to know one of my theories? Look at how it talks about a man, like the Bible says, be careful of a man. There have been studies where if a man eats too much, or if they eat like red meat all the time, which is ridiculous in America, how much meat we eat, they're more violent in behavior. Conversely, you start feeding a man too much soy, we get too much estrogen, they're womanly. Isn't that interesting? I think that's interesting. And so, like, we see the Bible warn us about eating too much meat. I will be very much incorporating meat into the meals, but I do try to put a lot of vegetarian foods in there. Again, you're going to have to adapt it to your family. Sometimes we have men who need meat and potatoes at every meal. That was not the way our Israeli ancestors lived. That was not the way they did it. They were nomads. They drank milk. They ate cheese. Do you know what I'm saying? You can just see it in the Bible. They couldn't have, you couldn't have afforded to cook an animal every day. It was a choice fat cow for a feast. Like, they did the meat for a special occasion. Nuts are also not good for everybody. Some people don't do a lot of nuts. Different bodies, and see, that's the other thing you can ask me to help you with. Like I said, maybe TMI, postmenopausal. So that I will help you function and get your hormones figured out, because a lot of it is hormonal, because stress and tiredness. And so then you're like, oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, I have a little tire around the tummy. What do I do? So we'll do some core ab workouts. I mean, because when I do my core ab workouts, I do a lot. So I'll give you all sorts of ideas and different progressive load training and what you can do at home, so you don't have to join a gym. Okay, does that sound, any other ideas to add to that? You guys have any other questions, ideas? I think for now that's probably good.
There you go.
I would just Dance aerobics videos.
Yeah, when are you gonna start this? Like, what's the A time period? Like?
Well, so I'm going to, this week, I want to finish tomorrow. I didn't get a chance today. I want to finish the menus and just put some sample menus on there for everybody for free, just so they can kind of have some menus to start going out this week. I want to try to get that done tomorrow. Then I want to launch this program. I want to start like the membership as soon as I get, well, probably I'm looking at probably next week. So if I start it like on, because the program is made so that it's going to give you the menus Monday through Friday. Weekends are your responsibility. Exercise Monday through Friday. I want to do 5, at least 7 to 8 minute videos on different exercises that we focus on. Even if it's not a video, I want to do like, I will do like a chart of how many reps to do, like do this and then do this and then do this and do like 4 times or as many as you can do in 8 minutes. I just want to work because we'll work on our arms one day. We'll work on our thighs one day. We'll make sure we work on our core every day. I think it's very important to work on your core every day. Stretching, I'll give you stretching exercises. So it'll be kind of like a piece of meal thing as well, where you can, I don't know. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Back to your question, Romaine. I want to get everything put in motion and done. Well, I want to put the menus out tomorrow, just so you have those for whoever, whether you're joined or not, just to give you just that, so you can kind of see. And then I want to start very much next week, where it's like, okay, here's a few exercise videos, or here's a few exercise regimes. I don't have to just do a video, I guess. I know that Cassandra really wants to put on the chicken costume, and I think she should do. Oh my gosh, that's what I do. I put on the chicken costume and do the Torah chick. There we go. That's the whole workout routine in the chicken costume. Danielle, she's got one too. So, or we can get Everly to do it with me. There we go. There we go. Because then you're going to be laughing and engaging your core the entire time. So more laughter. That's the other thing. Be happy. But I'll teach you all sorts of little tricks. Like even little things like when you're sitting, you should just be like, how many times you guys randomly see me at fellowship, just kind of sit up randomly with my legs up because I'm holding my core in. I don't even care what people think of me. I don't care. I just don't care. I'll just be weird. But anyway, CS, it doesn't say your name. So I'm not sure, CS.
It's Cherry.
Okay, hi. I see. Why did you
Okay,
not write Cherry?
I don't know. Because I just made my account tonight and I was trying to do it really quick so I could
I
get
get
on
it.
it so I didn't miss anything.
I get
Okay,
it.
so I'm glad you brought up the eggs. I have a question that I've been wondering. So since coming to Torah, I've just really been into eggs a lot.
Mhm.
And I'll buy the organic, but then sometimes I'll just buy like the regular ones that's not organic because every time I buy the organic, like half the pack has a blood spot in it and I have to like throw them all away.
No, there's nothing
So,
wrong with the blood spot.
so do
No.
I cook it or do I just try to scrape the little blood spot out or what?
Yeah, just cook it, sweet girl.
Okay.
You know what that means? They had a happy rooster with them. So you're fine.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, that's good then. I've been wanting to ask that because I'll buy the organic, but I just hate having to throw them away. I'm like, it's such a waste. I might as well just buy the regular one so I can eat
Don't
them.
throw it away.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, good.
That's cute.
Can
You know
you
what
hear me
though?
now?
What was that?
Oh, can you hear me now? Michael here.
Yeah, yes, finally.
All these controls. I'm not so tech savvy here. I don't know if you heard about an app that's really helped me. It's called Bobby Approved. It's an app you can get on your phone, and it'll scan any grocery item and tell you what's in there and why he doesn't approve. Like, oh, it's just helped me so much. Like it'll say, oh, this oil, canola oil or whatever, and whatever.
Right.
It makes for inflammation, or they recognize and disapprove of sugar all the time or natural flavors. So I don't know. Bobby approved, if that helps anybody.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, awesome. Cass and Danielle.
I was just gonna ask, can we not do it to where when we're doing the ab workout video to where we join on screen with you? Because apparently I have a face when I do ab workouts.
I also want to add that I do know that Judaism, at least Orthodox Judaism, does teach that if the egg has a blood spot in it, to throw it away.
Yeah, but don't follow that. Just it's fine. It just means it's fertilized. Nothing's wrong with it. You would eat it in the chicken form. It just grows from there and becomes a chicken, and you'd eat it that way. And so, yeah, that's funny. So, no, okay, I am gonna share a little story, funny story, since I'm gonna stop this recording. I think we're done with that. Nope, let me stop the recording. Let me push the right button. I think I can, okay, there we go.